When it comes to the game of firewood, it is not a one-size-fits-all. And yes, I did refer to it as a game, because apparently since I'm a hobbyist, that's all it is to me. But when it comes to firewood, there's always different ways of doing things, and I think one of the most important things with firewood is to find out what works for you. Now in my content, I seldom will say this is the only way to do something. What I do is I just show what I am doing and what works for me. Now last week, I think it was last week, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, I was running the 37D here, and I was splitting just some stuff up and running it into a pile. And a lot of people left comments about how, you know, I should be doing things more efficient. I shouldn't be running it into that. I shouldn't be putting the firewood back on the ground because that is not efficient. But the reason I do it that way is because when I'm splitting firewood with the 5-way box wedge, which is my favorite box wedge to run, I end up with firewood for a few different applications, a few different uses. So I have the larger split pieces that come off of the 5-way box wedge. Those I'm setting aside for my personal burning use. I've actually had to start another stack right over here on the edge of the carport. So I have bigger splits for myself. Some of the smaller splits that come off of the edges, those are what I use for selling in either bundles or in the roadside stand. So I have wood for myself and wood to sell. The other thing that comes off of the box wedge, as many of you know, is a whole lot of slash and trash. So over here, that pile that I ran the other week, this is what's kind of left, or what I basically left on the ground. So there's, and I'll probably just leave this here now and run some more on top of this, and I'll just keep kind of sorting through it and adding to it and eventually clean it up. So some of those pieces are like shorter. I will eventually pull those out and either have those for my fire pit use, my outdoor fire pit, or I might throw them into a pile for the boiler. The other thing that comes off of the 5-way box wedge is splits like this that once they are resplit, they end up making nice bundle wood as well. So what I did over here, as I was sorting through and picking the pieces out of this pile, I had the bucket on the tractor, and I would take the bigger pieces for myself, put them on the bucket. The smaller pieces I'd put in this tote that I will take and stack for bundles in the stand. The other pieces that were larger and weren't oak, I would put in that tote because that is what I'm going to resplit into bundle size pieces. So that just kind of gives you an idea of why it works great for me to run everything off this conveyor into a pile and then kind of pull out and sort bundle wood, resplit wood, wood for my personal burning use, and then the slash and the trash is just left right here to deal with later. So you're probably wondering, why don't I just run the stuff into these totes and then separate it out? And I actually did try that, and it becomes more of a hassle than it's worth, because a tote full of a mixture of potentially 4 different things that you're pulling out, it just becomes, you know, you can't take the tote over to your stack and pull out all the pieces that you want to save and burn for yourself, because some of those pieces are on the bottom, some are in the middle, some are on the top. You can't just take it over and pull out the pieces you want to save for bundles, because again, they're all mixed together. So that's why I don't run into totes. I find it's a lot more beneficial to use the totes, just moving wood around the wood yard. So in this case, I separate from the pile, I put wood into one tote, I'll take that tote over to where I'm stacking it, and then empty it out and reuse it. So just a quick little boiler wood consumption update. You saw in the intro there I was taking, I actually added, put two new totes of wood into the woodshed. I'm going through about right now a tote a week. Now keep in mind that that wood is just loosely tossed in, so it's not like equivalent to a third of a cord. So loosely tossed in. I'm going through about a tote a week. And there's another case of something that, you know, works for me and may or may not work for you. What I do, I take the totes into the woodshed. I empty those totes out throughout the week or 2 weeks, however long it takes. And then I'll take the empty totes, take them to where I have a pile or a stack of wood that's seasoned, and I'll take the wood from that stack or pile and toss it into the tote, refill the tote, and then have it ready to use again in a couple weeks. There too, you may look at that process and say, that is a pretty inefficient use of your time. You know, every time you touch the wood, it's costing you money. Time is money, time is money. I get that comment all the time. So a little over a week ago, it was the gun opening deer season here in Wisconsin. And I got talking to a couple people that were out hunting, and they had been out opening day, Saturday. They went out Sunday as well, and they sat in their tree stand for the entire 2 days, and they didn't shoot their gun once. And I thought to myself, now that is not a very efficient use of your time. If time is money, you spent 2 whole days sitting and you did nothing. You had nothing to show for at the end of the weekend. Me doing firewood, be it a game or whatever you want to call it, my hobby, whatever it is, by me coming out and doing firewood, if it's something I enjoy doing, why would I want to rush and hurry and be done with it? Now, if it was something I didn't enjoy doing, I could understand rushing through it, getting done with it as soon as you can, not putting in any, putting in as little effort as you need to just to get the job done. I could understand that. So yes, the firewood game around here is a little different than probably most people because, again, I am pulling out wood for myself, to sell, to burn in my outdoor fire pit when it's nice out, and also then the slash and the non-desirables, the ugly stuff. So I have all those things that I like to separate out. And I do like to spend the time because in this case, I think when you put in a little more time, you actually get more money out. So yes, time is money. So again, these are just my thoughts. This is just the way I do things, and in my content, I am just showing you what I do. This may not work for you. It may, I don't know. What works for me, works for me. What works for you, works for you. And when it comes to firewood, it is not a one size fits all.